Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard, presented by RDSE, and I'm your host, Michael Lyons. And today we are going to be finishing the top 10 in each position for the NBA today with the centers, and then we are also going to get into my award predictions for the 2025-2026 NBA season. But before we get into that, as many of you know, I am a Sacramento Kings fan, and news just broke 2 days ago on Wednesday that the Sacramento Kings are going to be signing Russell Westbrook to a one-year vet minimum deal. Now, just by looking, it's not a crazy contract, and Russ isn't a terrible player, but I still just really don't like the signing for the Sacramento Kings. It's Russell Westbrook deserves to be on a competing NBA franchise. Last year, he was on the Nuggets. The year before that, Clippers. Year before that, Lakers. All these teams are competing. And now, at the very tail end of his career, we don't know how many years left we have of Russell Westbrook. He's going to spend 1 year on the Sacramento Kings? Now, that's partially the NBA needs to do better. The league needs to do better. Russell Westbrook is a winning player when he's on the court. He showed when he was in Denver this past season that he is a winning player. But now, he's going to spend a year rotting on the Sacramento Kings with all the other unks, with DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. So, I think the Sacramento Kings were going to be a fun team to watch this year. I mean, you got Russ, you got Zach LaVine, you got DeMar, but it's just a bad roster. None of it really makes any sense. And also, Keegan Murray is going to be out for the first month of the season. So, it's just a bad start to the NBA season for the Sacramento Kings, and it hasn't even started yet. And what I'm most upset about with this Russell Westbrook signing is prior to the offseason and during the offseason, it was really, we're going to go after Dennis Schroeder or Russell Westbrook. Now, there was still talks that we're open to signing Russ. He was in contact with Scott Perry throughout all of the offseason. But you went out, you signed Dennis Schroeder, and we have Devin Carter on the bench who barely played last year due to an injury. He's coming into his second year, and now he's gonna lose a lot of his minutes because Russell Westbrook's gonna be there. So, what is the point of going out and drafting this backup point guard in Devin Carter in the lottery, and now we're giving up on him so early? He's just not going to get any minutes, and the minutes he's going to get, he's going to look really bad because he's going to be playing next to Russell Westbrook, and neither one of them could shoot the ball. And Keon Ellis is also going to find it troublesome to get minutes at any point in the season because we're just stacking up this bench. It's going to be Malik, Russell Westbrook, Keon Ellis, hopefully Nick Clifford. But this team is just bad. We're going to be bad, but we're not going to be so bad that we're going to be a lottery team. We're going to get very end of the lottery and have a 0.9% chance at jumping up to the first overall pick. We need a top pick if we're the Sacramento Kings. So, that's my little spiel on the Russell Westbrook signing. And now we're going to jump in to the top 10 centers. Now, there is one guy that's not on the list that is definitely, he's such a question mark, and we don't really know what's going on with Joel Embiid. So I left Joel Embiid off my list due to the fact that I don't know if he's going to play at all this year. If he's going to play, is he going to look like the Joel Embiid we expect? Because last year, in the minimum games we saw him, he did not look good. I think he played like 17-ish games last year. It might have been even lower than that. So, Joel Embiid is not on the list. So, if you're listening to this list and you hear some of the guys that are above him or that are on this list and you're like, there's no way he's better than Joel Embiid, just think if Joel Embiid was healthy this year, he would probably be second or third on this list if he was healthy and playing to the level we expect from him. It's just such a big question mark in Philly if he's gonna play, what is gonna look like when he plays. So no Joel Embiid on the list. But now we're gonna jump into the list. At the number 10 spot, I put Kristaps Porzingis. Now last year, Kristaps only played 42 games in the regular season, limited in the postseason as well with all the immune system issues and got elbowed in the head in the Magic series. So it was just a weird postseason for him, and he wasn't super healthy last year. He played about half the games, but when he did play, 19.5 points per game, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 48% from the field, 41% for the three-point line, and that 41% from the three-point line is on 6 attempts a game. So he was shooting the ball like we expect from a Boston Celtics team, but he shot it very well. Now on the defensive side of the ball, I think he averaged about 1.5 blocks per game and 0.7 steals. Now Kristaps Porzingis going into a brand new situation in Atlanta, which I think the biggest thing with Kristaps is, can he stay healthy for this year? Because if he can stay healthy and play about 60 games, this Atlanta Hawks team could jump all the way up. They could be one of the, like, Quinn Snyder could be in Coach of the Year conversations just because of the huge leap they could make. If he plays about 60 games, I think this Hawks team could jump up to about the 4 or 5 seed, maybe even the 3 seed. So that's something that you expect maybe a little bit from Kristaps Porzingis. We'll see if we can get that this year. If not, I mean, it's not super crazy. He's at the 10 spot, so I'm not leaning on the fact that he's going to play a majority of the games. I just think when he's going to play with Trae Young, he's going to look amazing. If he can shoot the ball like he did last year, this team is going to be really hard to stop when he's on the court. So that's why I put him at the number 10 spot. Now at the number 9 spot, he's always been a controversial guy because you know exactly what you're getting on the defensive end of the ball, defensive end of the court with this man, but on the offensive side, it's virtually nothing at some points. Rudy Gobert is my number 9. I think there's no way you cannot limit Rudy Gobert because he deserves to be on the top 10 centers list just based off of defense alone. And then during the regular season, he gives you 12 points per game, which, yeah, that's not crazy. It's lower than almost everybody on the list. It probably is the lowest on the list. But 12 points per game from a guy that is going to give you elite defense, a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, that's so... Rudy Gobert gets so much hate because he can't do anything on the offensive side of the ball. I understand it because when he can't catch the ball and he's putting his team in like terrible positions because he just legitimately can't catch the ball, I understand that. But the defensive side of the ball, you know exactly what you're going to get with Rudy Gobert. And that's one of the things I look at with the center position because centers are evolving so much. I value centers that I know exactly what I'm going to get. So there's some guys on this list that may be higher than some people would expect, and maybe some guys that are a little bit lower than some people would expect. But I know exactly what I'm getting out of Rudy Gobert, and that's why I put him above Kristaps Porzingis and at the number 9 slot because, I mean, he averaged 1.4 blocks per game, which is one of the lowest of his career outside of like when he first came into the league. But he is still probably the biggest rim deterrence in the NBA outside of the guy that's at the number 2 spot. Rudy Gobert is still one of the best defensive centers in the league. And after this season, maybe he might fall off the list because he is at the number 9 spot. And a couple years ago, he was way up on my list. But that's why I put Rudy Gobert at the number 9 spot. Now at the number 8 spot, I have Bam Adebayo. Now, Bam Adebayo is one of those guys that some people might have him super high because he can just do a little bit of everything. Averaged 18 points per game last year, about 10 rebounds, 4.5 assists on 48% from the field, 35% from the three-point line. Amazing season from Bam Adebayo. Didn't really get talked about him a lot last year, due in fact to the Heat just not really being on anything, and Khalil Ware coming in and kind of taking over that center role, which Bam Adebayo might play some power forward and he's going to play some center. I still put Bam Adebayo as a center in my eyes. There are some centers that can play power forward. He's one of those guys. But Bam Adebayo, I put him at the number 8 spot because I value the guys above him a little bit more, what they can bring on the offensive side of the ball. When Bam Adebayo, 19 or 18 points per game is really great for Bam Adebayo. I just want to see him step up on the three-point shooting. 35% the last 2 years, and this last year he shot three three-pointers a game. Amazing year. I think Bam Adebayo is kind of falling lower and lower on value because now what Bam Adebayo is amazing at is being able to switch on everything. And if you also bring Khalil Ware onto the court with him, I think that gets lost a little bit because then you're not having Bam Adebayo in every pick and roll action. You're having Khalil Ware in every pick and roll action. And Bam Adebayo is just kind of sitting there at points. So that's the only thing I see with Bam Adebayo. I also just don't really expect much from this Miami Heat team coming this year. So that's why I put Bam Adebayo at the number 8 spot. Above him at the number 7 spot, I have Alperen Sengun. Now, Alperen Sengun, him and Bam Adebayo, I kept flipping because they're so close to me in a couple different aspects. I personally just went with Alperen Sengun because I think the playmaking ability of Alperen Sengun that we saw last year is going to be on full effect this year with no Fred VanVleet for the Houston Rockets. I think they're going to run a lot of their offense through Alperen Sengun to get open shots for Jabari Smith Jr., for Dorian Finney-Smith, for Amen Thompson on cuts, and then KD, obviously, he is like the guy in Houston. He's going to command all the defensive eyes. But Alperen Sengun is going to have a sneaky, amazing year this year. Coming off a year where he averaged a double-double with 19 points per game and 10 rebounds and 5 assists a game. I would like to see Alperen Sengun shoot the three-point ball a little bit better, but he only shot about 1.5 attempts a game, so not anything super crazy. The defensive side of the ball, Bam Adebayo has Alperen Sengun beat, but I think Alperen Sengun, it's going to come easier to him on the defensive end with this amazing defensive team that is built around him and around Kevin Durant. I just think Alperen Sengun, he's going to get some steals. He's going to get a couple blocks at the rim. And the offensive side of the ball is really where he's going to lay a lot of his time and effort into. So Alperen Sengun is my number 7 center. Now at the number 6 spot, it feels a little bit low for how amazing of a player he is. And partially it's due to the team he's on. It's also due to the fact that, like, can I see this guy on another team and would he be able to put up these numbers? That guy is Domantas Sabonis. Now, Domantas Sabonis, 19 points per game, 14 rebounds a game, and 6 assists. 59% from the field. Shot 42% for the three-point line, but he only attempted 2 a game. So, I mean, if he shoots the three-point ball like he did last year, it's kind of hard to put anybody above him outside of like the top 3 guys. Domantas Sabonis is a beast, though. I think that goes over, like, I think people oversee Domantas Sabonis because when he was not the guy on an NBA team, he was on the Indiana Pacers and he was on the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are just surrounded by amazing players. Now he's kind of the guy in Sacramento after De'Aaron left. but he's on Sacramento, so nobody really cares, if we're being honest. Like, just speaking as a Sacramento Kings fan, nobody cares who our best player is, especially not a guy like Domantas Sabonis, who, if we're being honest, kind of plays a boring style of basketball. He's not like a DeMarcus Cousins from 10 years ago. He's not like a De'Aaron Fox from a couple years ago he's super speedy, can drop a 50-point game, and everybody's like, wow, De'Aaron Fox is so amazing. He's just a wasted talent on Sacramento. Domantas Sabonis is a wasted talent in Sacramento, in my eyes. The only thing is, I can't really see him on any other team because what he is amazing at really only works with the Sacramento Kings because we don't have another star player. And, like, De'Aaron, yeah, they worked for a year, but then after that, they didn't work. So that was just like a really good, amazing year from De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis and all the guys around them. Whereas now, been 2 straight years of just Domantas Sabonis is the guy. He's dominating on both sides of the basketball, or both ends of the court. And, yeah, he's just a wasted talent, but it's also like I can't see him going anywhere. Now, I'm not trying to like undervalue Domantas Sabonis because I think a lot of teams would take Domantas Sabonis if they had the chance. It's just, what would that fit look like? And Domantas Sabonis being our best player hasn't really equated to winning basketball. So I put Domantas Sabonis at the 6th spot, put him above Alperen Sengun because I think he's a better version of Alperen Sengun right now. Now, after this year, Alperen Sengun could definitely jump above Domantas Sabonis. I think Domantas Sabonis is a better defender, a better rebounder, and playmaking. Domantas Sabonis is no slouch in the playmaking, so I personally went with Domantas Sabonis above Alperen Sengun. I think that's going to be kind of a conversation many people would argue about with me, so that's my number 6 spot, Domantas Sabonis. Now at the number 5 spot, again, a guy that I know exactly what I'm getting from him is Ivica Zubac. Ivica Zubac, 17 points per game, 12.5 rebounds on 63% from the field, and 1.1 blocks and 0.7 steals. He was 6th in Defensive Player of the Year voting last year. Just like Rudy Gobert, you're not expecting Ivica Zubac to do anything spectacular on the offensive end. But you know exactly what you're getting on the defensive end. You're getting a rim deterrent, a shot blocker, a guy that just makes getting to the basket and shooting at the basket incredibly difficult. In my opinion, outside of that one game we saw of Alex Caruso against Nikola Jokic, Ivica Zubac was the best guy to guard against Nikola Jokic in the playoffs last year, and probably mostly through a lot of the regular season as well, outside of the guy that's at the number 2 spot right behind Nikola Jokic. But Ivica Zubac, I mean, him and James Harden, perfect pairing as a pick-and-roll threat. Really led this Los Angeles Clippers defense all the way to the playoffs alongside James Harden and Chris Dunn and all those guys. Just a spectacular year for Zubac, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do again this year with a better defensive team around him as well. I think he's really going to thrive. And this Los Angeles Clippers team is kind of, yeah, they're old, but this is a team that I really look at could be a championship contending team with how amazing they are. Everything on this team fits perfectly together, and you have guys that are the best at a couple different things, and Zubac is one of the best shot blockers and rim protectors in the entire NBA. So I put Ivica Zubac at the number 5 slot. Now at the number 4 spot, it's kind of early to put him here, but I'm going off what I saw in the postseason and in the limited regular season last year, along with a little bit of potential. Number 4 spot, I put Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren came off a year where he averaged 15 points per game, 8 rebounds, 49% from the field, 38% from the three-point line on 3.5 attempts a game with 2.2 blocks and 0.7 steals. Chet Holmgren missed a lot of time last year due to the hip injury, but when he was playing, now, yeah, there was some games in the playoffs where he was virtually not even on the court, but again, this is only Chet Holmgren's second year, and he missed more than half the year. Chet Holmgren played 82 games his second year, which was technically his rookie year because he missed his whole first year due to injury, and this last year he missed 50 games. But Chet Holmgren is going to be on par with Victor Wembanyama as just these freak athletes and freaks of nature and what they can do on the basketball court. Chet Holmgren and Victor Wembanyama, they have guard-like skills alongside Nikola Jokic. And they are amazing rim protectors just due to their size. Now, Chet Holmgren obviously needs to beef up a little bit, but give him 2 years of eating all those oxtails that he'd be talking about. He's going to be a problem on both ends of the court. And I like that he's shooting the three-point ball early in his career, and he's shooting it at a pretty efficient clip right now. Chet Holmgren is just an amazing athlete, an amazing NBA player, and I think he's going to get some hate for where I put him just because I'm going a little bit more off potential with him. But, I mean, he's an NBA champion. He was spectacular in the playoffs outside of a couple games. And you know exactly what you're getting with Chet Holmgren, but then he'll surprise you, and he'll break out a tween into a pull-up mid-range or a pull-up three-point shot, and you'll be like, dang, that's Chet Holmgren that you're expecting to see. And this is what we're going to get from him as he gets more confident and later on into his NBA career. So I put Chet Holmgren at the number 4 spot, alongside the fact that this Oklahoma City Thunder team is going to go back-to-back, in my opinion, because they are, like I've said with every time I've talked about an Oklahoma City Thunder player, they are so hungry. They are so young, but they are so hungry to win another championship. I could just tell by the way they're putting so much effort and time into the off-season workouts when they could just be partying all summer long. So, Chet Holmgren is my number 4 center. At the number 3 spot, I got Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns, his first year in New York this past season. Now, he started off pretty slow with this New York Knicks team. 24.4 points per game, 13 rebounds a game, 52% from the field, 42% from the three-point line on 4.7 attempts a game, and 0.7 blocks and 1 steal a game. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns, he's always been one of the best centers in the entire NBA. Now he's in a big market. People are finally actually really giving him all his credit and his flowers that he deserves. I believe Karl Anthony Towns, with no Joel Embiid in the NBA and no Joel Embiid playing in the 2025-2026 season, is the 3rd best center in the entire association. I mean, there are lapses with Karl Anthony Towns, but there's lapses with all players outside of the number 1 center. And yeah, you could still argue there's some lapses with arguably the greatest player in the entire NBA. Karl Anthony Towns, I think his lapses are a little bit more than the guy that I put right above him. But Karl Anthony Towns on the offensive side of the ball, there's not many centers that can mess with him. I think he is the 2nd best offensive center on this entire list. But I think the defensive side of the ball, there's still some things to work on there. And I think the guy right above him is so close on the offensive side of the ball that the defensive side of the ball is nowhere close. Puts him right above him. But Karl Anthony Towns deserves all his flowers. I mean, really took over games last year. One of the best center quarters I've ever seen was against the Indiana Pacers when he was just killing. When they were going on that run, Jalen Brunson was on the bench, and Karl-Anthony Towns is coming down the lane, yamming on people, shooting threes, shooting step-back threes, shooting pull-up threes. I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns, when he's hot, one of the hardest centers to guard in the entire NBA. But I did put him at the 3 spot, and right above him, I've been talking a lot about putting him above him. The number 2 center on my list is Victor Wembanyama. Now, is this some potential? I don't really think so, to be honest. Victor Wembanyama showed. Now, yeah, he only played 46 games this past year. He would have had the Defensive Player of the Year he had it locked up in February, and he had it locked up in December, if we're being 100% honest. So, Victor Wembanyama coming off a year where he averaged 24 points per game, 11 rebounds a game, 47% from the field, 35% from the three-point line on 8 attempts a game, and 3.8 blocks and 1.1 steals. Victor Wembanyama, I mean, everybody talked to him as a once-in-a-lifetime player, a unicorn, and he really is. He's an alien. He's Victor Wembanyama. There's not really anybody to compare him to if you really think about it. And the offensive side of the ball, that's something that's just going to continue to grow in his career. Now, I don't think he's going to get much. I don't think he's going to jump super high from 24 points per game. I think at Victor Wembanyama's peak, I think he could be around a 28 point per game scorer. We'll see this year with De'Aaron Fox being there and Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle and all these guys, what his usage rate on the offensive end of the court is going to be. It's just, can he get the efficiency up? And his efficiency is amazing right now for a guy that shoots how many shots? 18 shots a game to shoot 47% from the field. And he is the best shot blocker in the entire NBA. He's going to be probably his entire career. And arguably, 2 years into his NBA career, he should already have Rookie of the Year, All Defensive Player twice, and Defensive Player of the Year. And he's already a 2-time block leader, a block champ. And he only played 46 games last year, and he was still the block champ over Evan Mobley and over Rudy Gobert and all those guys. So there's not really much to want to see more out of Victor Wembanyama. So I put him at the number 2 spot, right above Karl-Anthony Towns. And then at the number 1 spot, I mean, who else could it be? It's Nikola Jokic. Arguably, should have been the MVP last year, some people would say. Should have been the MVP during the Joel Embiid MVP season. I mean, Nikola Jokic, I saw this on, I think it might have been Bill Simmons' podcast. He was talking about, is Nikola Jokic the most dominant player of the 2020s? And if he wins another MVP and another championship, is he one of the best players in NBA history? Because if you think, 3 times he won the MVP, all within the 2020s, and he was second place runner-up twice. And in my opinion, he should have won over Joel Embiid. The Shai Gilgeous-Alexander one, I think, should have went to Shai, and it did. So, Nikola Jokic, I mean, there's not much to say. MVP, champion, he averages a triple-double. I mean, there's just not really much to say for Nikola Jokic. Yeah, he's not a great defender, but he gets it done on the defensive end of the ball or defensive end of the court. And, I mean, there's not many people on the offensive side of the ball that can mess with Nikola Jokic and do anything at any sort of capacity that he can do. He averaged 30 points per game, basically, last year, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists. Just in a monster year, and in normal years, that would have been an MVP. I just think Shai was so dominant as well last year that I picked Shea to beat Nikola Jokic for MVP last year, but Nikola Jokic was definitely number 2, and I wouldn't have been angry if it went to him. But, I mean, there's not much to say. Like I keep saying, there's not much to say about Nikola Jokic. He's the number 1 center in the entire NBA, and we'll see if Victor Wembanyama at some point in his career can pass Nikola Jokic. Now I'm going to go back over my 10 through 1 list, and then we're going to do a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back to talk about the NBA award predictions that I chose for the NBA 2025-2026 season. From 10 to 1 is Kristaps Porzingis, Rudy Gobert, Bam Adebayo, Alperen Şengün, Domantas Sabonis, Ivica Zubac, Chet Holmgren, Karl Anthony Towns, Victor Wembanyama, and Nikola Jokic. Now we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back to talk about my award predictions for the 2025-2026 NBA season. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard, presented by RDSE, and I'm your host, Michael Lyons. And like I said, after we finish the top 10 centers list, we are going to talk about my award predictions for the 2025-2026 NBA season. Now, we are going to start off with Coach of the Year. Now, I had a couple opinions on this of who it could be. I thought of Quinn Snyder. I thought of Jamal Mosley because I think they could jump up in the standings. But I went with the man who just won Coach of the Year a couple years ago, but on a different franchise, and then won it again a couple years, or back in the early 2000s, with a different franchise. I think Mike Brown is going to win his 3rd Coach of the Year on his 3rd different team. I love Mike Brown. I love what he brought to the Sacramento Kings. He was completely done dirty by the entire Sacramento Kings organization. And yeah, I just think Mike Brown deserves the redemption tour. He has an amazing roster with the New York Knicks. Jalen Brunson, Cat, Mikal Bridges. I mean, he has the best team he's ever going to coach. And I really think that Mike Brown is going to take this New York Knicks team to different levels on the offensive side of the ball. Exactly what he did with the Sacramento Kings. Sacramento Kings were getting in shootouts. The defense was not there at all, but we also didn't have the pieces on the defensive end like this New York Knicks team does have. So Mike Brown, in my opinion, is going to win Coach of the Year, and I don't really think it's going to be that close. I think he's going to win in a landslide victory because I think this New York Knicks team, if they stay healthy, is going to be the top seed in the Eastern Conference. Mike Brown, in his first year there, is going to win Coach of the Year. And I'm going to love it. I'm not a Knicks fan. I am a Mike Brown fan. I believed in him the entire time he was in Sacramento. He got fired dirty, and I just want to see him redeem himself and prove to everybody that he is a top coach in the NBA, and he deserves to be a coach in the NBA. So Mike Brown is my pick for Coach of the Year. Next up for the newest award in the entire NBA, Clutch Player of the Year. Now, last year I got this completely wrong. I went with De'Aaron Fox, and he just didn't play enough games. He wasn't even close. Jalen Brunson won it last year, and I think he could win it again. I think he'll be close. I think he might finish in the top 3 for voting again. I think it's going to be Jalen Brunson, Nikola Jokic, and Luka Doncic is my pick for Clutch Player of the Year. Now, early on in the season, LeBron's going to miss about a month of the season. Luka Doncic is going to have to put his backpack on when this team is in a close game in the 4th quarter. And we all know Luka can do it. Luka Magic can do basically anything on the basketball court. And when LeBron comes back, I think it's still going to be Luka time in the clutch. I think LeBron is going to he already knows that Luka is the better basketball player at this point in their career. So he's going to have full trust in Luka Doncic, and Luka is going to take over in the fourth quarters this year for the Los Angeles Lakers. And he's going to have an amazing year. I think he's going to be, again, top 5 in MVP if he plays enough games. And I think there's no way you can not give it to him when this team is going to be in a lot of close games, in my opinion, because I don't think they have the roster to really blow people out this year. And I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see this Los Angeles Lakers team and Luka Doncic get into close games every night, and Luka have to put his backpack on and carry this team to a win, night in and night out. Austin Reeves, great player. LeBron, great player. But I don't know. Nobody can really mess with Luka in the clutch. So I went with Luka Doncic as clutch player of the year. I think he is the favorite to win it right now, which I don't usually like to go with the favorites. I like to be a little bit different than the voting and betting odds and who they have going for these awards, but I like Luka Doncic to win Clutch Player of the Year. There's not much to say about it because it's kind of a weird award to win. You got to have it's a weird award, and I'm happy that De'Aaron Fox won it a couple years ago, and I really think Luka Doncic is going to win it this year. Now moving on to the Sixth Man of the Year. I found this to be the hardest award to pick, and last year, I found it as an easy award to pick because I picked with one of my favorite players on my favorite team, on a guy that I know is coming off the bench. But this year, it's kind of weird with how much movement there's been, who is really going to be a sixth man. And I went with a guy that is kind of in a weird situation. I think it came out that he's going to be coming off the bench again this year, which I like it for him in his career. I went with Tari Eason as my pick for Sixth Man of the Year. I like a sixth man that can do a little bit of everything, and him winning the sixth man this year reminds me of when Montrezl Harrell won it a couple years ago on the Los Angeles Clippers, because Montrezl did a little bit of everything. He was an amazing defender, a great rebounder, and got about 10 to 12 points per game off the bench, maybe a little bit lower than that, but Tari Eason, coming off a year where he averaged 12 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, 48% from the field, 34% from the three-point line, and he had a steal and a half a game and a block a game, basically. I think Tari Eason could really be a guy to look at for Sixth Man of the Year. A couple other guys that are in the conversation for Sixth Man of the Year award this coming year. Peyton Pritchard, if he comes off the bench. Naz Reid is a favorite. DeAndre Hunter, Jordan Clarkson, Anthony Simons. But I really like Tari Eason. I think he is an underrated pick. And I think, yeah, there's a chance that he's not even close. He's not even top 5 in voting. But if this Houston Rockets team does what we expect them to do, I think there's always going to be a conversation that their number one guy off the bench, Tari Eason, should be in Sixth Man of the Year conversations because he's going to do exactly what the starters can do. Jabari Smith, Dorian Finney-Smith, Tari Eason just comes in and does exactly what they do again. He brings a lot of energy, a lot of effort. He's a great defender, and he's no slouch on the offensive end. So my pick for Sixth Man of the Year is Tari Eason. Now for MIP. I went with a guy that is in a new situation. He didn't move teams, but the star player went down and went down late. So it's going to be a full year of this guy at the helm, this guy controlling the offense. My pick for most improved player is Andrew Nembhard of the Indiana Pacers. Now, coming off a year where he just averaged 10 points per game, 3.3 rebounds a game, and 5 assists, 46% from the field, 29% from the three-point line on 2.5 attempts a game, and 1.2 steals and 0.2 blocks. Andrew Nembhard, didn't have a great regular season last year, but a great postseason. We saw exactly what Andrew Nembhard could do when he has the confidence and he gets the ball in his hands. Andrew Nembhard is going to be a guy to watch out for this year for the Indiana Pacers. Some people are super high on the Indiana Pacers, think they can kind of replicate what they did last year from the regular season standpoint. And if they do that, I think Andrew Nembhard has to be in the conversation for most improved player, either him or Benedict Mathurin, because one of them is going to have to take a huge leap with no Tyrese Halliburton there. And I think Andrew Nembhard is the most likely to do that because you get scoring, you get playmaking, you get a little bit more defensive upside with Andrew Nembhard. Benedict Mathurin could really jump up in points, which I could understand, again, why he would also be in that conversation. But I really like Andrew Nembhard to win Most Improved Player this year. Even if this Indiana Pacers team isn't good and Andrew Nembhard doesn't win Most Improved Player, I think he's going to show us some amazing flashes, and I think he is going to have a very underrated year. And yeah, maybe that won't lead to Most Improved Player of the Year, but I'm hoping it does because I think this guy really deserves a lot more flowers than he's been given. Now, coming off this run to the finals where they did come up short in Game 7, but, nobody was really talking about Andrew Nembhard prior to this finals run. And even during the postseason up until the finals, there wasn't a lot of people talking about him. He was kind of the sole reason why they won some games against the New York Knicks and against the Cleveland Cavaliers. When Tyrese Halliburton wasn't aggressive in the postseason, Andrew Nembhard was. And I'm expecting that aggression to continue throughout the entire regular season coming up. So Andrew Nembhard is my pick for Most Improved Player. Now for Rookie of the Year. In my opinion, this was probably the easiest pick for me outside of Defensive Player of the Year. I think it's going to be Cooper Flagg is going to be Rookie of the Year, partially due to the fact that he has all the buzz. He is the biggest name in this draft class. He is looked at as a generational player, a generational prospect. He's looked at to be the next LeBron James. He has as much hype as ever before from a Duke player. Cooper Flagg is, even with all this hype, he's still one of the best players he is the best player in this class in his rookie year, in my opinion. I don't know if Cooper Flagg is going to be the best player coming out of this draft class for their entire career, but I think he is the lock to win Rookie of the Year. Now, this Dallas Mavericks team, starting off, just going to be him and Anthony Davis. When Kyrie comes back, I think we're going to see a little bit dip in what Cooper Flagg is going to give you on the offensive side of the ball. But the defensive side of the ball for Cooper Flagg is what he's going to lay his hat on early in his career, I think. Because obviously for rookies, it's hard to grow in, just come straight into the NBA and be a dominant offensive force like you were in college. But defensive side, I think he can replicate what he did in college on into the NBA for the defensive side of the court. Offensive side of the ball, that's where he's going to struggle a little bit to start off. But I still think he's going to be around 13 to 15 points per game and about 8 rebounds a game and 2.5 assists. And I think he could average a block and a steal this year. And I think he just has the most opportunity out of anybody in this entire class to just come in and be the guy right off the bat. Even though he was drafted to a team that already has 2 star players in Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving, he's still coming in and going to be the second option to start his NBA career which is super important for him to just keep growing his confidence and keep growing in what he can do on the offensive side. So Cooper Flagg is my pick for Rookie of the Year. And like I said, I thought that Cooper Flagg was the second easiest pick on this entire list for me because number one, the easiest pick was for Defensive Player of the Year, and that's Victor Wembanyama. If Victor Wembanyama plays enough games this year, he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year. And until somebody comes in that can match what he does on the defensive side of the ball, I think Victor Wembanyama is the lock to win Defensive Player of the Year if he's healthy for the next 5 years at least. And maybe even the next 10 years. Because Victor Wembanyama, his first 2 years in the league, averaging 3.7 blocks a game in 2 years in his first 2 seasons. Block champ both his rookie year and his second year. And yeah, he's been dunked on. But what I like about Victor Wembanyama is he's gotten dunked on, but he's not scared to go for the block again. That's exactly what I love out of these centers, that they're shot blockers, they're rim deterrents. Sometimes when they get dunked on, you can see them kind of go into a passive mode on the defensive side of the ball. And when they see somebody else coming at the rim. No, Victor Wembanyama, he's putting his arms up every time. And half the time, he doesn't even need to jump to block these guys. He's going to average, again, above 3 blocks a game. And because there's no way you can't, like, he's 7'3", listed at 7'3". Some people are talking that he's 7'5". Other people have him listed at 7'4". Whatever he is the most freakish athlete and freakish player in the entire NBA. No way a 7'5" guy should move the way he does on both the offensive side and the defensive end of the court. Victor Wembanyama is a lock for Defensive Player of the Year. If he plays enough games, obviously. When I say lock, that means they play enough games. If they play enough games, they are going to win it. So I think Cooper Flagg and Victor Wembanyama, if they play enough games, they're locks for Defensive Player of the Year and Rookie of the Year. All these other ones, I think there's a conversation for all of them. Now, obviously, Rookie of the Year, there could be a conversation for one of these guys like Trey Johnson or Dylan Harper or somebody, or Ace Bailey. I think Ace Bailey is the biggest guy to rival Cooper Flagg for Rookie of the Year this year because he also is coming in with a lot of just opportunity. But I think Cooper Flagg is a lock for for Rookie of the Year, and Victor Wembanyama is a lock for Defensive Player of the Year. And now to the most important award in the entire NBA, the MVP award. I think it's going to be a running like it was last year. I think it's going to be Nikola Jokic. I think it's going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And I think Giannis Antetokounmpo. Those are going to be the top 3. And my pick is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, it's a risky pick because this Milwaukee Bucks team is so bad. But Giannis Antetokounmpo is so good. He can carry this team in a weak Eastern Conference to a top 4 or 5 seed. And if they are a top 4 or 5 seed in the Eastern Conference, even though it's weak, Giannis Antetokounmpo deserves MVP. He's going to average close to 35 points per game this year. He's going to average 10-plus rebounds a game. Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to have a monster year this year. And I'm super excited to watch it. I'm not excited to watch the Milwaukee Bucks. I think they're going to be bad. But I think they're going to win a lot of games just entirely off Giannis Antetokounmpo putting his entire team on his back and running through every wall that they try to wall him up with. And he is going to dominate the NBA. He's going to get back to being the MVP in the NBA, and I'm excited to watch it. So, that was my award predictions. I'm going to go and read them back before we end the show. First off, Coach of the Year, Mike Brown. Clutch Player of the Year, Luka Doncic. Sixth Man of the Year, Tari Eason. Most Improved Player, Andrew Nembhard. Rookie of the Year, Cooper Flagg. Defensive Player of the Year, Victor Wembanyama. And MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Those are my picks for the awards for the 2025-2026 NBA season. I hope you guys enjoyed listening. And the NBA starts in 5 days, Tuesday, October 21st. So 4 days. Tuesday, October 21st is the start of the NBA season, and it can't come quick enough. I'm so excited, and we'll see what happens. Stay tuned for next week. This has been Beyond the Scoreboard presented by RDSE, and I'm your host, Michael Lyons.